Hello friends, welcome to FoxuTech. So far we have seen about Argo CD deployments and how to create applications and apps and multiple things. And also we seen last post like Argo CD CLIs regards how to create repositories, how to create applications, etc. Right. So now we can see about Argo CD projects. So which is one of the major feature we have to check it. So in case you are not using any kind of a default, if you're like to use a single instance or you want to maintain everything all together, so this is one of the key thing you should maintain it, right? So let's check about it. So what is project and what are the things we can do with that, and we have some demos also, so we'll be go through one by one and see how we can use that, right? So before we start, so we should see why we need a projects, right? So the main reason for projects are it's as a logical grouping of applications. So if you have a multiple teams you are owning or your organization has, so it's good practice to have them a separate space for them, so they can do whatever they want. So they don't want to rely on any other things, like they should not know about other projects what is happening, and they should not expose to the other things, right? So we do have everyone as a restrictions, and that should be allow us to do a lot of things. And what are the restrictions they can have with that? So one is like they can have a specific repositories, like the project team, they may have work on some own projects or standalone or restricted access project. So on the time this project will be most useful and you can restrict the access, right? So another thing is like you need to deploy to the specific clusters or the particular namespaces. So even though you no need us projects to handle that, but it's always have a good practice, like whenever there is a project team requesting for the particular cluster, so you can allow them to the selected clusters or namespaces. So that will have additional restriction for your teams and your organization level. And one another thing, like a projects giving additional features, like you can restrict what all the resources they can deploy it on the cluster level or namespaces level. That is a more critical thing. So you can decide like what your project team can be used. So no need to have everything to be allowed. So it's good to allow everyone to do everything, but always some projects doesn't need such a whole privileged access, right? So this Argo CD is limiting even those things. So we will be seeing that in the short demo, but we will be discussing on the coming tools. And other things like how we can restrict. See, we have restricted with the certain policies, but what even though we need to drill down further restrictions. So what are the further restrictions we can have it? Like even though there will be a team which needed in the even the same team, maybe not everyone to be maintain everything, right? So they should have some limited access. Some certain people should have a limited sync permissions, as we seen about applications. So only they have to sync the applications, or they may need to perform some kind of a basic operation. They may have someone like a basic level of supports. So they may need to just go and restart the things or something. So they want to basic level support. So those things they can utilize with these roles. Roles will be like a most useful thing here. So we will be seeing short demo about even this. We'll see about it, right? And next is creating an Argo CD projects. So Argo CD projects is, we can create it again multiple ways, as we have seen about applications and as we seen about the clusters, everything. So clusters, sorry, we can't do it via AI, but it has limited access. But repositories you can create, and you can create applications with the multiple ways, right? As like that. So Argo CD projects also will be given the same extra features, like one is declarative method and the CLI, even we can do that, and WebUI also it does. So we know about short terms about CLIs, but in this in this tutorial, I want to like to explain you on the declarative way. So which will be have a more clarity to you, and which will be more reliable thing. And which another thing is like it's a more recommended on the GitHub's manner. So whenever we are using a GitHub, it's always should be store our codes on the JIT, right? That is the main requirement. So declarative is one of the key thing for that. CLI and WebAI, it's for the just for us, we can do it ourselves. But when you want to standardize things, so declarative will be a best solution for us, right? So let's see some examples what we can do. So this is a manifest, you can write about it and you can see what is the API version you are using. You can see the kind we are using like an app project. So this is the kind will help us to create the projects on the Argo CD, and we are putting a metadata, and I'm choosing a name called the project alpha. So you can name it anything. And namespace again, we cannot create everything on Argo CD namespace, and my Argo CD namespace is Argo CD. So I'm using it. In case you are using a different namespace in your environment, please replace that particular Argo CD instance where you are, which namespace you have installed. And the spec is just explaining about the description, but it's nothing major it's doing. And next thing, so what are the things we need whenever we are seeing the Argo CD? Few things. One is like a repositories we need for mandatory, and cluster we need to be know where we are deploying it. Third thing is, and remaining two is like a which namespace and which cluster and what level of things we are allowing. So in this file, we'll have a 4 blocks. The first block is speaking about the source repositories. So source repository is nothing but which JIT repo or repositories you want to allow. So in this case, whenever you are seeing a star in Argo CD, right? So it means everything is allowed on this layer. And next is a destination, which names destination server you want to install. So we seen about the clusters and how many clusters we can add. So how we can differentiate that. So like that, you can give the which cluster you want to allow your application to be or the project to be created. So if you have more than one clusters and you want to restrict the particular project should be on the particular cloud solution provider or particular region or particular providers, anything, right? So you can restrict it. And also same thing like in namespaces, you can create the name, you can restrict even this particular project should be allowed only to the particular namespace. So next is a cluster resource whitelist. So this file will also allow us to do couple of things. One is like a whitelist and blacklist. So on part of whitelist, what are the things we can do? So whitelisting is like a cluster resources. We can create it here. So cluster resources, nothing but like you want to allow to create a namespaces or some CRDs or etc. So if you want to restrict those things, you can perform it using this whitelist. You can see currently I'm allowed everything whatever we needed, right? So if you want to restrict only selected things, like you want to restrict users to create only namespace, you can give the kind here, but we have a short demo on that in further session. We'll see about it, right? So next is the namespace resources. So namespace resources, like whitelisting is again like what are the resources on namespace level you can allow it, right? So again, I'm speaking about the deployments or stateful set, anything if you want to restrict or only allow those, you can make it here. Okay. So this will give us the brief details here, and we'll see it in the coming demos. And next is, as I said, like you can restrict with the certain destinations. So this is the pattern, you can follow it here. So I'm using it here like a destination is my Kubernetes default service. It's a default Kubernetes cluster. And I'm going to restrict my project to allow only to the FoxuTech namespace, right? I don't want to use any other things. So I'm restricting everything here. Okay. So same goes for the selected repositories. If I want to allow only selected repositories, this project should be accessible. So it should not allow every repositories on the my Argo CD instance, right? This is a way you can follow the pattern, source repositories, and you can give the repository URL. So when we are saying like, as I told, the cluster scope resources. So what we are doing, this cluster scopes repositories, cluster resource whitelist. So we are allowing only the namespaces which will be allowed to create. Okay, so we are deleting everything. So if you are creating any kind of a CRDs or any kind of other resources which are on the cluster level, so everything will be blocked and you get a permission denying error. So same for the namespace, the scope. So when we say namespace scopes, again, I'm going to group it as a apps, and the app should be kind of deployments only allowed. So none other resources will be allowed to create part of this particular project, right? Okay. So same for the block list. If you wish to only allow the certain things, you don't need to allow everything. So I'm restricting here like a namespace, sorry, network policy. I'm allowing everything on the namespace level, and other layer, like once everything is allowed, but network policy, I can't do any kind of a changes. It's blocked on this. So this is how you can make, and you can see the block is called like a block list. And earlier we were seeing as a whitelist, and even though you can combine both, right? So you can go with that. And let's see about some certain demos. So in the demo we can do as following, like allowing, we're going to create a project which will be allowed to all these resources like repositories, and I'm going to open all for the destination, no restriction on any destination, and same for the all the cluster resources, right? All right, so let's jump into the demo, and we'll see how to create the project with a declarative manner. And also we will be seeing the details on the details, how we can verify that even with some CLI commands, right? So regards the project creation, right? So we're going to create up 3 projects here, alpha, beta, and delta. Each will have like a different roles or different terms. So we'll see one by one. So before that, let's see like what are the projects we have in our system. So for that, you can use either you can use Argo CD commands, or even in the kubectl you can check. So how to check that? So we're gonna check kubectl get project and -n, and as I'm using Argo CD namespace, I'm gonna check on the Argo CD namespace first. So this is what, so I have 2 projects. One is default and project test I created for some testing, and this is came from the default. Okay, so whenever you are creating a new namespace, it comes with the default names, default project, and you'll be seeing that by logging to the UI. So let's log into the UI and see about it. So what are the features we have, sorry, what are the projects we have by default, right? So for that, what I'm going to do, so let me get the IP address. As you guys know, I'm using Kubernetes. I exposed as a load balancer, right? So this is my IP address. I'm going to log in first time now. Let's log into this. Okay, I'm logging into my Argo CD instance. Okay, let me log in as admin first, and my password is as following. If you are using a first time, so if you are not reset your password, you need to reset with your commands we seen in the last post. Let's see the projects. So for project, you have to go to the setting. Sorry. Go to the projects. So we can see there is a 2 projects available. Let's go inside the project and see what are the feature it has. So what are the options it's giving? So you can see in general, it has a description and labels. And next is what is the source repositories, and what is the scoped repositories, and what is the destination, scoped clusters, and any cluster resource allowed and namespace resource allowed. We do have any such a restriction. We don't have at this moment, but in case if you are having, so we'll see that. Okay, we're going to do that as of now. So let's see that. So for now, we don't have anything. Even you can create the project on the UI. So in UI, you can say like UI test, and just going a UI test and create. Sorry, it should not be a capital. So for that, I just and I'm creating a project. Okay. So you can see that there is a three projects now, and we have created. And quickly check that on the command line also. We can see that. So for that again, kubectl get app project -n argo cd. Okay, it's created here, and you can, if you want to check about the project, you can say like as like other resources in the Kubernetes, you can just describe it using a command argo cd, and you can see all the details about this project, and there is nothing is there as of now, and we're gonna see it in a detail what we can do it, right? So yes, so let's start. So as I told, we're gonna create a first project is called project alpha, and this is a file, and here we don't have anything, so we are just doing basic things. One is like a name and which namespace we want to create, and rest all it's allowed by default. Okay, we are not making any kind of restrictions. So how we can create kubectl apply -f project YAML. So now we have to describe and see that, right? So let's see that project is created or not. So get again a project and -n argo cd, right? So we can see it here. Project alpha is ready. So let's describe and see that before we go and check on the UI. So kubectl describe a project, and there is an alpha project and -n argo, sorry for the typo, -n argo cd. Project. Okay, so you can see it here. What is the spec we have given? So we didn't restricted anything on the destination layer and the source repos, and everything is set allowed, right? Okay, so next thing, like let's deploy some application and see what it does. Okay, before that, let's check it on the UI quickly. Is it created and reflecting on the UI also? Yes, we can see it on the UI also now, right? So let's, here also we can check what are the things is allowed and every details. Okay, so next, like we can deploy some application and see how it's deploying and is it working fine. So for that we have a file called application alpha, so which will be containing about the application set, and again it's creating that, and I'm gonna give like a project alpha is my project where I have to deploy, and I'm giving my cluster details and which repository I should use and what is the path for reference. Also, I'm allowing here create namespace equal to true, so which will be allowing, if the namespace is not exist, it will be a create automatically. Okay, so kubectl create, sorry, apply -f application alpha YAML. Sorry for that, something wrong here. Space. Okay. Sorry for that, and this is what we have to do, like we have to give some limited space, so always give that, and we have deployed our application. So let's see that, and again now we can check the applications even here. So we know how to check it on the Argo CD, right? So we'll check it here also. So for that, applications -n Argo CD. Okay, so it's a web app 1, it's named. Let's confirm, is it a web app 1 we have given? Alpha, yes, the metadata is be given as a alpha 1. Also, let's check like a kubectl get namespaces. Okay, so there is no namespace is created yet, and okay, let's check it on the UI first quickly. And is there application already exist? Yes, so we can see there is application exist, and we know about it by default. Any application is not sync, so synced because we are not enabling like a automated sync. Every application comes with a manual sync, and very first time we have to sync it. So let's see that. Let's sync and see is it doing. So we can say auto create namespaces enabled, and we're gonna try to deploy it now. It's progressing. It's synced successfully, and let's see like a pods are creating. Yes, so we can see everything is getting created automatically, right? So let's see it here also. Is it the namespace is created? Yes, we can see the namespace also created. And the application health should be now healthy, right? So if you want to see it on the YAML file, you can see the YAML file. Sorry, so you can see it as -o, and you can see what other roles has been set. You can see it like this even in the expert mode, right? So we have seen about the first demo, like the demo explains about we can be able to create the name, all the resources, sorry, all the sources we have allowed, destination we have allowed, and clusters namespace scope we have allowed it. So next demo we'll see with some restrictions. So there will be like it again allows all the repositories, but it's not going to allow you to create on the any namespaces. It's going to restrict the access only to the FoxuTech namespace, and if you are not deploying to the FoxuTech namespace, it's going to be failed, right? And we are not restricting any of the cluster or namespace scope resources as it's not part of here. So we're gonna see with the second demo with limiting the access. Right. So for that we have a project called beta. We're gonna name it as a beta. So that will be with the destination. I have named it here. So in this, you can see the project name I given as a project beta and the description, and I'm giving like a what is this cluster name and what is the namespace, right? So let's try to create this. So for that, again, we can give the kubectl apply -f project destination. Right, so kubectl get project Argo cd. Right, so we can see there is a project called project beta is created, and let's check it on the UI also once again. Right, project beta is created. Okay, so now let's deploy some application. For that we have already the file with the beta application. So you can see it here. I'm doing as following, like okay, so this I'm gonna name it 2, and the spec and the destination I'm giving a namespace called Argo CD amp data. This should not be get synced because we are making a mistake here. Like as we restricted only the scope should be for the selected namespace, so it's not the case here. So let's see that. Okay, so let's try to deploy it and see what happens. kubectl apply -f application beta. Okay, so let's list the application kubectl get applications -n Argo cd. So you can see it will be an unknown state. Why? Because it's supposed to be created on the particular namespace. So it will be an unknown state. Let's describe and see that in the detail. You can do this. Describe applications, and the application name is web2, and the scope for the namespace is Argo. So you can see this error, like it's not allowed because not permitted in the project, because we have limited the access only to the FoxuTech namespace, right? So now what we can do, we can go to the beta project, sorry, application, and let's change the namespace to FoxuTech and see is it getting succeed or not. And before that, let's check it on the UI also once, because we may see sometimes on the UI mostly because people will be keep on checking. So you can see it's not deployed anywhere, like it's an unknown state, and it's given the error like it's not allowed on the project, right? Okay, so we have seen on the UI also kubectl apply if application beta. Again, I'm going to apply now. And this time it should be detailedly applied, and let's see this. Okay, so now you can see the status got changed to out of sync from the unknown state. So even in the EA it should be changed now. You can see it now. As we have to sync it first time, we can sync it in this, and Argo CD CLI also you can use. I'm just going to sync it here once for your case. So now it should start picking the namespace, and it should be just deploying to the places. And it's failed. Let's reset it. Meantime, let's check the namespaces. Is it FoxuTech is available? Tech not yet created. Why? Because auto creation is failed. So let's try to create it. Let's try to sync. Look like the application was stuck, and anyway we have created in the namespace, and now it's deploying perfectly fine. Okay. So far what we've seen, like we have seen some examples about how to create and all. So if you want to restrict any other resources or any whitelisting things, so you can do that as mentioned on this file. And you can use for the source repositories, or you want to restrict a particular whitelist or block list, anything. If you want to use, you can use it as we've seen in the deck. So it will be useful. I will be pushing this file to my repository, like it will be created as a separate folder under Argo CD. You can check it on the description. Okay, and the next scenario will be like let's see next, like we have seen couple of things on the cluster management project. So we know how to restrict based on the project level. Let's see like how the use case, like how the users will be restricted to here, right? So how to do that, like we have a project roles for that. Like there is a couple of scenarios you can take, like if you have multiple teams, multiple team members, and in that you have subdivisions, and the selected teams or sub teams should be used to perform certain actions, and certain people should not do certain actions, right? So you can even restrict that, how to do that. So and other cases we can see that, and also other use cases are like you may have some CA tools, any kind of a CA tools, and from the tokens, some automation jobs, you can perform these actions even from that. You no need to come for this UI or this kind of command lines. You no need to do anything manually. You can automate everything with a certain tokens. So JW token it's called. So you can use the JW token and you can restrict even that. So how to do that? So you can create a multiple policies for your projects, and the project roles will be dedicated to that, and we'll be seeing that. So these are all the permission you can grant. Either you can give to the particular CA system like any automation tools, or you can create a separate groups. So the groups are something like if you are enabled with the user authentication, the users may have a restricted access, like a testers and DevOps or SREs or ops or developers, anything it's called. So like that you can restrict the things, right? So this is how you can do that, and we're gonna see some sample about it. So before to do that, so what we have to do, so we have to create a project, and project should have some certain roles. So for that, and then we have to create a token. So we're gonna perform that with sample here. So we have a project called, we're gonna create with the role. So earlier project. So before we are heading to that, let's explain the bit about this. So you can see kubectl here. Yeah, describe a project and what is your project name earlier, like the project name will be like this. Where we missed. Okay, project alpha. Let's take a project alpha, and the scope should be an Argo namespace. And you can see this here, right? So we can see there is a cluster resource and description, destination, namespace, and source repositories. We don't have our roles at this moment, and in this new one we're going to introduce that. So to do that, so we're going to see kubectl apply -f, and we're going to have a file called project roles. So let's see that project role first. Roles. Okay, so this so far, like it's still this, we have seen lot of time, and we just name it as a delta here, nothing else we have changed. And roles we are adding in this section. So what this role is going to do this, right? So I'm going to name my role name is delta role. You can create a multiple roles, and it is going to have a policies. The policy is as following, right? So I'm gonna say like I'm creating this policy only for my particular project. My project name is project delta, and this the policy name going to be like a delta roles. Okay, and I'm gonna say this role, who all assign this role, who all part of this role, the person should have only sync permission for the application, nothing else. He should do it, right? So I'm doing this like applications, and I'm saying only sync permission as I told. If you want to give some other roles or something, so you can give it. So we have a separate session for that. We'll be publishing soon. So in that we'll be explaining what are the possible application roles we have, or the actions we have, and then which project you are allowing. Inside this project, what all the application it comes. Again, star means here the pattern is project / application / resources it comes. So here our case we are allowing restricting to the project, and all the application or what all the resources part of this project delta. This policy delta role should have only sync access, application sync permission. It should not do any other operations. Okay, I'm doing what role it should be, it will be allowed. Okay, so you can do this with this. And, once we have, so let's apply this and see that how it's look like. Apply -f project -role, and let's see that what happened. What is happening? Some space issue again, I think. Yes, sorry for that. And make sure these names are so case sensitive. Please be sure on this. So we will be seeing that in beta in a bit. So let's see this project is creating. So let's list again. Get project -n Argo CD. Okay, so we have a delta and let's describe it and see is it like we can see that. Perfect. So you can see it here. We are seeing like what is the policy has been updated. So earlier section there was no roles, but in this section we are seeing the roles, right? So let's play around bit. So let's do following things. So as we have seen here, so to create a token, we can create some tokens here, JWT token, and see how we can managing that. Okay, so for creating a token, you can use Argo CD. You have to use Argo CD CLI, and please log into the Argo CD instance before you are doing this. Okay, so our case, role name we need and project name we need. So what is our role name here? So the role name is nothing but delta roles, sync rules is a role name, and the project name is project delta. Okay. Sorry. CD watch role and then create a token. Project delta and sync roles. Okay. Project delta, right? What do I give me something else? Okay. Sorry, our case is looking for different roles, and this is how the token will be generated. Please note this token somewhere if you are using some automation or something. Why? Because this will be, it won't be stored anywhere in the Argo CD instance. Once you lost, you have to recreate the one from the starting. So always store this somewhere wherever you are running any kind of comments, right? Please be sure on that. So we have created token. So let's see like how to use that. So to see how to use that, you have to use as following. So if you want to perform any actions, you can run like this. So what you have to do, you can use the same Argo CD CLI commands and sorry, it's not merged. -auth token you have to use and the token value we have to use. Let's see that. So Argo CD cluster list -auth token and the token value. You can set it in the environment variable also, but I'm just using as it is. It's up to you. And you can see we don't have this project, this is not allowed to use any other cluster related operation. So we have one of the cluster, but it's not for doing, as it is not allowed to do any such options. Right, you can see the RBAC is working. So we can see few more things also. So what else we can do? Like we can say like application list -auth token, and I'm checking there is a typo, is it? List, sorry about that, auth token, So you can't see any other anything on this project, but even though we can, so this is how it works. You can restrict, and if you want to some automation or remote level management, you can use this token and you can manage it if you don't want to use your accounts, right? So obviously we don't want to use any kind of our own accounts. So always maintain through this kind of a solution will be viable solution. So it will be always recommended. Okay. So yeah, hope this helps you guys. So thanks for your time. Have a great day, and keep follow us. And also we have a social accounts and I have added in the description. Please follow us over there, and we will be posting some interesting knowledge sharing details. You can follow that and get knowledge on the other things also. So these videos will be focused on the large topics, but there will be a short tricks or short memes or something. So we'll be sharing on our social media portals. You can follow us there, and please support us. Thank you. We'll see it on the next video. Thanks for your time. Bye bye.